open our meeting. So 5:03, we open the HPD review meeting. First item on the agenda would be to review the minutes of the meeting from April 21st, 2021. Anybody have any issues with the meeting, Doug?
No, I move that we accept them as presented.
Everybody else?
Second?
Nice job, Tamika.
Okay, all right,
Oh, thank you.
all right, Dick seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Unfortunately,
Yep.
we
Yes.
have to do an individual roll call.
Gotta do a roll call and a vote,
remote.
okay.
Yeah.
So Doug, why don't you start us off on the roll call?
Briggs, aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Bonnie,
Purrington?
aye.
Purrington, aye.
Senecal, aye?
Bonnie?
Well, Bonnie's not on
Oh,
it.
Bonnie's
not
She's
on
on the
it,
other one.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so no nays, all, that's unanimous. The meeting minutes pass. Any, new business, old business, any business? None of our business to discuss? We're gonna go over the RDIC, the new plan for with the Harbor Classic Homes, but we'll might as well wait till Mike opens his meeting. But anything else on the, HPDD review side that you guys see?
No. Not at the minute, not until,
I'm just gonna bring up one item that, Dave George brought up to me about, do you wanna bring that up now? Do you think can we talk about that now? or
I
does
just
it-
put it out there for informational purposes.
Yeah, just for
That was it.
informational purposes, right?
That was it.
Yeah,
That's why I put it
so
out
Dave, you know, when we approved the concept plan
Yep.
at that last hearing, we never officially like gave him any kind of document or anything, like an approval document or whatever. And the planning board office was gonna draft something up. So that document Dave's working on, it's still something that needs to be completed, so to speak. Not that it's really holding anybody up, but it's just kind of a, clean, just keep it tidy and clean, so to speak.
Correct,
So,
yeah.
Dave's gonna be working on that, and one of the next meetings, he'll get that back to us, and we can formalize that concept. But again, it's just a concept, it's not like he's got any right to do anything or anything.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, so that's all.
Yeah,
That was
but
just one thing that Dave brought up, which was a good point, because honestly, we kinda left the meeting, and it just, we never talked about it again, and
Yeah.
the thing never got done, so it's a good point Dave caught that, thank you, Dave.
Anytime.
Other than that, anybody else got any other new business?
yeah, it'd be nice to see the plan because we're,
Yeah.
to know where the bounds are and everything else, so.
Yeah, this is the new plan, right?
This is the.
Hey, Tamika, this
Yes.
is Mike.
Yes, I hear you, Mike.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Who's here from the RDIC?
We only have, Dick and Bonnie right now.
Okay, so we don't have a quorum, so we
No.
can't open our meeting, but we'll just treat it as an informational meeting, not an official meeting, okay?
Sounds good.
Is that okay with you, Tamika?
I'm just double checking with Peter.
What's that?
Is it okay for him to speak on it, even if the RDIC is not able to?
Yes, but they
officially
can't
open?
discuss it. RDIC members can't discuss it.
But Mike can still present.
He
it
can
to everybody
present.
else. Okay.
Yeah, this is just an informational presentation.
Okey doke.
So Tamika, could you do me a favor and
Yeah.
put up, the old plan just that everyone saw before?
Yes.
I sent you both, I believe, didn't I?
Yep, this is the old
Okay.
one.
So, let me just back up a little bit. This has been a kind of a long and arduous task, for the new engineering firm to get to where we are today. So basically what they had to do, in order to ensure that what they were gonna present was viable from the standpoint of, meeting regulations and functionality, the fact that, sewer would flow and water could be accessed and stormwater management and all of those things. They needed to basically kind of start from scratch and redesign. So they took the existing plan that we're looking at, kind of used that as a baseline, and said, you know what, there's just some things here that aren't going to work. First and foremost, this existing plan would not allow gravity feeding of sewer. So that was foremost in their mind. Secondly, it did not have adequate parking. And if you look, I wish I had a pointer, but if you look as you come in the main entrance down to the left, you'll see there's parking on that corner, and then there's kind of a parking lot, if you will, around that second corner. And then every one of the corners kind of has, like a dozen spaces, let's say. I didn't count them, but I'm gonna guess maybe even more than that. So they felt as though there would be a better way to, so that people wouldn't have to park, so far away from a potential, if you go down into the lower section of this, in the middle roadway, if you were gonna visit that middle house, you'd have to walk quite a ways from either one of those corners up to get to where they are. So anyway, they thought that needed some work. But the biggest thing was gravity feeding of sewer. So now, Tamika, if you would please, could you jump over to the next one?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the new layout, which first and foremost is gravity fed sewer, which, when I talked to Joe Buckley about this, he said, oh yeah, we gotta have gravity sewer. We don't want a pumping station if we don't need it. And of course, anybody would agree with that. I think everybody would agree with that, I should say. And then as you can see, they've kind of laid parking out, spread it out a little differently. There's still some walking that has to happen, but I think the parking looks better than it did before. If you look up towards the entrance, where you come in and take your first left, that building right in the middle, that's the proposed community center. We talked a little bit about the existing flagpole, and I asked them whether they thought there was, the existing flagpole is currently, if you go down to the very bottom right-hand corner where that road access, which I haven't got to yet, is, the existing flagpole is somewhere right around the back side of those, I believe those two buildings on the corner of the right-hand side of that exit roadway. I may be wrong, it might be on the other side of the road, but I think it is. So we talked about, can they move that up into that island across from the community center? And they're willing to do that if it, if it's movable. Who knows, being a federally built project, I mean, that could be Mount Vesuvius under the ground, and it can't be moved. So we'll see what happens with that. So I guess the next important thing that happened is down in that lower right-hand corner of the roadway. That's the second connection that you folks said was necessary, and I think everybody agrees that that's appropriate. So the other thing you'll notice is the lot line going down the existing roadway, the stub roadway, all the way up to that proposed roadway, is now on the HCH side of the existing roadway. So the roadway remains the town of Rutland's. We've had some conversation. Dave and I met with Joe Buckley, and we discussed this roadway and the running water and sewer down that roadway through the existing what's going to be, the town's route roadway that we just talked about, that stub and all the way up to the corner there. And he is in complete agreement that the water and sewer should go under the existing roadway, the roadway, and that it should maintain in that roadway, become the property of the town of Rutland. So he's in agreement with that. And honestly, I don't even know if we've actually discussed that portion of it with HCH yet. So then in addition, you can see the 4 detention ponds they've proposed. I don't really know what else I can add to this. I'm perfectly willing to field any, well, before we do that, let me just give you a little timeline estimate. Their estimate is that by March 1st, and I think they're hedging there, to be honest with you, this will become a detailed plan. So the entire design will be completed, and they will be ready to present it to the RDIC and the HPDD review board, and more importantly, or as important, is present it to all of the appropriate town boards that have to sign off on it. And also at that time, they will be prepared to have a permitting schedule, Concom, planning board, DCAM, DCR, all of those other things. So March 1st is really going to be kind of the stake in the sand that's really going to fuel the schedule the rest of the way. That's when I think you, the review board, you folks are going to become pretty active in reviewing this and public hearings and all those other things that I haven't looked at your regulations close enough to remember, but you know them. So that's pretty much all I have to show you here. And I know it's not a lot different than the well, it's significantly different than the first concept plan. But just so you know, I have been asked to attend the selectmen's meeting tonight to give them an update on this project. And I'm prepared to show them this and have the same discussion we're having here. I just didn't think it was appropriate to meet with them in a public forum and present it to them without presenting to you folks first, so that you're aware of it, before anybody else is, I guess. And so that you can ask any questions you want. I'm not sure I can answer them, but I guess, Chris,
Oh, Mike, you accidentally muted yourself.
okay, sorry, I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. I guess I'll turn it back to you, Chris, and let you, since you folks have a forum, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has of me. Obviously, there'll be general answers to, I would guess, general questions. But if you have any specific questions you want me to get answers to, I'm more than happy to do it. So, does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dick.
They're talking about putting water and sewer down the road. Where's the electrical line gonna go? How many feet are you supposed to keep away from that?
I have no idea, but
You just gotta be, usually the electrical's outside the roadway. Usually National Grid they want you like in that little side strip of the lawn, that's what they do in a lot of the new subdivision type work now.
Keep it out of the
Keep it-
easement or
No,
keep
in
it
the
out-
easement, but off the asphalt.
Off
They
the
don't wanna be
asphalt.
under the asphalt.
But
They
yet,
wanna be off to the side.
also, water and sewer are gonna be so many feet apart too.
Yeah, usually just about 12 inches. I know gas is like 12 inches from electrical, so
Is that right?
I would imagine water and sewer is, no more than that.
Okay,
or
as long
worse
as
than that.
long as there's room, that's all,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
interested in, okay.
Anything else, Jim?
Mike, what's the name of the new engineering company?
Whitman and Bingham. That's correct, Dave, is it not?
Yes, it is.
But what is their new name?
I don't know, they were absorbed by some company in Maine, which,
Yeah, but I think, Jim, I'm guessing, I'm anticipating why you're asking
No,
that.
just-
If you go to the web, and you type in Whitman and Bingham, they're in Leominster, Mass, and they've got a very nice website, and they're, 100 and some odd people. It's a big deal. They have done, just in the Leominster, I think they did BJ's, they did CVS, I just can't remember, a lot of big projects. So this is nothing new to them. And they have, shame on me, to say they have every engineer imaginable. I'm speaking to an engineer now. But they have, environmental, civil, wetlands people, they've got the whole 9 yards.
Anything else, Jim?
No.
Mike, I just, if you next conversation you have with those guys, the new engineering firm, because they weren't there to hear it through the concept plan, but, again, in our bylaws, there's a very specific set of requirements for the final site plan approval under the HPDD review section, and just make sure that they're, looking at that and bringing all that information with their submission, so that, we don't have to just shoot it down the first day. I mean, again, just to reiterate, how about the DCR issue with that lower road by the pond? Is that is there any issues here, or is that over and done with?
No, well, first of all, let me just get back to your first comment. I guess I'm not worried about that, just based on what seems to be a very, very organized, structured company so far. Dave and I are meeting with them every 2 weeks for an update meeting and a progress report, and they've been right on time, giving us anything we've asked for, answered every question, and they constantly refer to the zoning and the regulations. So I'm pretty confident that's not going to be an issue. But to that point, maybe it makes sense at some point between now and March 1st, and I don't know when it should be, maybe I'll ask them, for them to maybe have a preliminary meeting with you folks. Say, hey, look, this is what it is, this is what we need, if you think that makes sense, I'm sure they would be more than willing to do it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we need to have anything like that. I mean, at this point, we've gone through the whole concept phase. We've had those discussions. Again, I'm just because there's a new engineering company on there, I'm just hoping that, Vinnie Campambasso has, relayed all that information to the new engineers, because he just wasn't part of the, I'm just concerned that, the new engineer didn't hear everything, nothing like being at the meeting, that's all. But I'm sure they're a fantastic outfit, and they'll do their due diligence, but just to make sure they understand that in that section, there is a whole list of requirements they need to submit, that's all. Dave? Dave has a comment.
Just to jump in on that, we actually, actually, during one of our meetings with the new engineering firm, we've made it clear that their next round has to show these items so listed. I referenced the bylaw, took them right to it, so they're definitely aware of it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be a problem, I just wanna make sure
We
they,
made them aware of it.
yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
In answer to your, or response to your roadway issue, your roadway question, that's the one area of unknown / concern that there is on the table. It's believed by, David, you jump in if I say anything you don't agree with. I believe that the engineering firm believes that their design is going to be defensible. They're going to be able to withstand Concom, planning board, and the HPDD review board with setbacks and all those things. I believe they feel confident that it either is or will be manageable. The one unknown is the usage of that roadway. Now, the problem is, according to them, the only way they can make a submission to DCR for an evaluation of that roadway is to have a definitive plan in place. They can't give them a conceptual plan, they won't evaluate it. It has to be an honest-to-God plan. So they can't do that until March 1st. March 1st, they can have it completed. They say they'll have submissions done within 2 weeks after that. I guess now that we look at it, I kind of wish that when we had the cleanup done, we had that road paved all the way up to the dump road, and then we wouldn't have any issue at all. There'd be no discussion. The state would have done it. It would be, a road that is to standards, and all they would have to do is plug into it. But hindsight's 20/20. So the potential best case scenario is and I'm guessing most everybody, if not everybody, has gone up and driven around that site. The roadways that were pre-existing, for the most part, other than the loop around the flagpole, are all still there and paved and not ground. They still are paved roads. Now, we can argue over whether they're roads or not. I'm gonna guess they're 12 feet wide, but they come up, you know, the stub road, up around the corner, all the way up, if we're looking at this existing map, past the first detention pond, past the second detention pond, past the third detention pond, all the way around behind the, you know, the school property line, back to, Rutland Heights Way. And then there's some of it that's paved into that center section.
So
where
Mike,
the-
Mike, one quick question here, just to kind of get to the point here, are they gonna, they're gonna submit, Harbor Classic Homes is gonna submit to DCR for this approval? Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
At this moment, that's still up for debate, only from the standpoint of, will DCI look more favorably upon a submission from the town of Rutland or from a developer? And I don't know that they've come to any conclusion there.
Excuse me, Mike, it's Peter
Yes.
Crane.
Yes,
It is unclear to me that Harbor Classic can submit a plan to put in a road or to rehab a road when they don't own the property.
okay, me too. But the
Me
point
three.
is, that is, well, let me just back up. The argument, or not an argument, the position that's been taken is,
Mike,
Yeah.
I don't wanna, Mike, excuse me one second. I don't know that we should really need to get into this issue right now and discuss it on topic. I just know from a review point, that's gonna be somewhat of an issue, just to give you a heads up. We don't have to get into the whole thing and how you're gonna do it and everything, but, you know, this needs to get worked out. This was something that we kinda left as an open item after the concept, and it's still been a long time, so I think that's something, I think our review board's gonna be looking to see cleaned up and, you know, at that time, and it can be done then, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give you the heads up more than I need to get into it or hear all the details, you know?
well, I can
I know we're
just
short
tell
on
you
time
this.
tonight.
No, I can tell you this, that this is priority one of Harbor Classic Homes, Peter Campobasso, and Dave and Mike Sullivan, Dave George and Mike Sullivan. It's been on every single discussion we've had, we've talked about it. The position of, I'll just briefly tell you, the position of the engineering firm, and I've had some discussions with, people who used to be, Jeff Lacy, I'll just say it. And because the pre-existing roadways are still there, and what we're gonna do is so significantly less than those pre-existing conditions, it is thought that the DCI would say, heck yeah, they're only gonna put in a, 600-foot roadway instead of all of this other roadway that was there. Now, that might mean that we have to remove the existing roadway that frankly is never gonna be used again anyway, so what difference does it make? Or maybe part of it up around the corner. Second thing is, if it was reground, is it something the town could use elsewhere? You know, all those things, there's just so many considerations there, but that is the only real, fly in the ointment, because, and, you know, I'm not smart enough, Peter, maybe you are, or someone may be, Dick. If this has to go to the point where MEPA challenges it, then we could have a real problem with time. The time could go over a year to get a MEPA approval. Now, it is generally thought that is remote, that would happen. But it is a long-range possibility that could really mess things up.
Okay, thanks. And just one other comment I'll make is the density of the units and how close they are together. I know that was something that we had talked about in the concept plan, that we were somewhat concerned about how close. This obviously doesn't have the distance and footage that the two-family units are, you know, that are apart. But, you know, that's something that could come into could be an issue as far as the, you know, how tight they are, how close they are between between structures. Because that had been mentioned, you know, that distance between the structures.
Yeah, I guess my only comment there would be that I'm sure they're laid out to the specifications of the regulations.
Okay.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm guessing they are. I'd be shocked if they're not.
I think that's,
They look close to me. That doesn't look right to me, honestly, but, you know, just looking at the dimensions of the units, and then, you know, just that the land between them is narrower than the actual unit, like a half a unit is itself. But no, just a comment. Again, there's not a lot of information here, so I don't wanna really get into details and stuff, but just something to kinda make sure that they, you know, that's covered.
Yep.
One other issue, Mike, that, you know, looking at the plan, at the very top where the road curls all the way up and goes up to the school, just a house cleaning issue, but there was that little 3-foot section where the road stops,
Yep.
and that 3 feet is part of the lot to the right where the swampy pond is up there, not the main pond, but, you know, behind Mozio's, that whole lot. And is anything going on with the town of taking that 3-foot section of the road and just making it town property? Because I think it's gonna go to a town vote, but I'm afraid, you know, when just looking forward here beyond this hearing and looking at that lot at Mozio's and whatever gets done up there, if someone takes that whole lot, now they're gonna own that 3-foot road.
right.
And it's just gonna be a problem for a submission of a plan, because there's no way this review board's gonna allow that property to go that way. So I just think the town, this is something that maybe bring up tonight with the select board, that, hey, you know, get in the works of purchasing this property and just put it under the town's ownership, make that road the town's, and just, because now that you have Classic Harbor over here, it's not gonna be one parcel anymore, so, I don't know, just some a house cleaning thing, just to make sure we just don't hold ourselves up in the future here.
Mr. Chair,
I agree with what you said, but you said purchasing the property. I mean, the town doesn't have to purchase it. They
No,
don't
if
own-
someone was to purchase the land behind Mozio's, that lot is all part of, that 3-foot piece is part of that lot.
You're talking the 3-foot section that goes across the roadway.
Yeah, along the border, the existing
Right.
border of the parcel.
So all the town has to do is worry about that section that crosses the roadway, right?
Yeah, I believe the town just has to to change that lot line, isn't it a town vote or something like that?
you
You
can do
you
that,
can't just
but
do it, you had to go to a town vote, I think.
I believe another option though, since RDIC is the owner, that RDIC can grant an easement to the town
Right.
for those 3 feet irrevocably, and then, sure, the town doesn't own it, but it will be part of the public roadway.
Why can't the RDIC donate it to the town?
I suppose that's another option.
Yeah.
I think it's totally a question
That'd
of
be,
how
that'd
much
be a great
things
idea if that's
cost.
possible. I just know we had talked about it, had to go to a town vote. Now, if there's other ways, that's fine. But I just don't wanna see that hold up another,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
in 6, 8 months and 9 months from now, and then you gotta wait for a town meeting for 6 months or a year. It's like, boy, that's all. I'm just putting it on your radar, man, just to, I'm not trying to, you know, be a whiner or anything. I just don't wanna see it bite us in the back.
No.
These things move
Why-
slow.
why
You know,
now?
working with the
Don't
town and doing
complain
these
about it.
things, it moves slow enough, and I'm just trying to keep it moving as fast as possible. It's not like we're just transferring land, you know, from one ownership to another personally, you know? Goes a lot
No, I'm
quicker.
with you.
Dave,
So to this item you're talking about here, when the applicant submits the A&R, they're gonna show the parcel that you see here. They're gonna show, they're gonna show a lot here, and a lot, which is that road piece. So they're going to specifically,
scroll up on this plan, can you, Tamika?
they're gonna specifically create a parcel out of that spur,
This way?
The other
By
way.
the way,
and that spur is gonna stay with the RDIC.
Yeah, see, right now, that spur is on the other lot.
That's right, but when they do the A&R, that's gonna be distinct unto itself. That will be, continue to be owned by the RDIC. That's not gonna travel with a future RFP for the Mosio side.
I just think that
It's on the radar.
realistically, this is
Yeah.
gonna become the town's property. Let's just get this done and over with, that's all I'm
It's on the
saying.
radar,
It's just, you know, it's just gonna hold up or be something to deal with, and something that's gonna happen.
on the
sooner or
radar
later, so.
for the A&R.
I don't know,
The
that's
A&R
just my opinion, but
Yep.
do what you guys want. Other than that, I mean, I like the general layout, and, you know, overall, not too bad.
Okay, that's good.
Anything else, guys?
I don't have anything else to add, until probably the end of February, early March. I don't see that, well, I'll say unless HCH has some issues that are gonna affect their design, that they need answers to, I don't know that there's anything that's gonna have to come before your board until then. Rest assured that in our bi-weekly discussions, if anything comes up that I think is something you folks need to weigh in on, I will keep you informed. Chris and I had this conversation many, many moons ago. The last thing that I want your board to do is to ever get the feeling that the RDIC is stepping on your toes or imposing our will or making decisions that you should be making. So it's foremost in my mind. It takes a conscious effort to do it, but if anybody ever feels or needs explanation, please speak up, because the best way to get this done and done right is to keep talking.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, great, can't argue with that at all, Mike, you guys have been great so far, no issues. And honestly, if they do have any questions, I mean, if there is something specific that they might want some input from us on, feel free to reach out, But,
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say just, when they get everything ready to go, we'll get going then,
Right.
Be nice to see it there.
I'll just on an entirely separate issue, anybody that's driven through there, will notice that all of the grass was very nicely mowed, and some anonymous person who doesn't listen to the chairman donated his time, his equipment, his fuel. I don't know who Mr. Williams.
I wonder who that was.
I don't know who Mr. Williams. I don't know who would have done that, but I publicly thank him again for it, and we're lucky to have Dick Williams in town.
I heard he had a good time.
Well, at least he didn't put any pipes through tires this time.
Amen. I had to chuckle because of the couple of houses up here that's just like Jim Soucy's. It's very steep out the back end of their homes there, and I just hope these people don't go out the back end. Woohoo!
Yeah. Right.
All right, so
So,
for the HPD review board meeting, is there anything else that we have to discuss, or do we have a motion to close our hearing?
Nothing else.
Oh, our meeting, right?
Our meeting, yeah, the HPD review.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So moved.
Doug,
All right, second.
Dick seconded it, okay, any discussion? All right, Doug, start us off, all in favor?
Doug, aye.
Dick,
Bonnie, I.
Dick,
Aye.
Jim,
Jim, I.
Chris, aye.